Welcome to the Cross the Line Podcast. My name is Carlos Smith. I'm back again here at the Ice House Comedy Club in Pasadena, California. Right now I have another comedian with me. It's D.Lo. How you doing?
I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Just wrapping up your set. How are you feeling about, putting on a great show? I know you say you killed the audience. Like, how are you feeling about that right now?
It's always a good feeling when you do well on stage. Of course, we all have times where we don't always do our greatest.
Earlier today, I've been saying we walked in on you guys earlier when I guess you were all in there, just networking and building with each other. How exciting is that to, be in that room with the other female comedians, building those relationships and just encouraging each other?
It's cool because when you come to things like this, when you come to festivals, you get to meet comics from all over the place. And there were some comics that were here tonight that I met at other festivals, and there were young ladies that I had never met before. So it's dope to be able to do that networking because these are people, I live on the East Coast, so I might not have ever met these ladies, you know what I mean, that are from Boston or live in L.A. and all that. So it's a good vibe for me. It's a good experience for me.
Yeah, let's go back to that as well because I like to, dive into people's story and get a little bit of the backstory. Like you say, you just mentioned that you were from the East Coast. Like, where are you originally from for people watching?
I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland.
So who else? Somebody else just said.
That's Nikki.
Nikki, yeah. She said she was from Baltimore, Maryland as well. How is the comedy scene in Baltimore?
The comedy scene in Baltimore is very aggressive. I will say that. So I feel like if you go to Baltimore and you do well, Baltimore can make or break you. You know what I mean? Like, it could break your confidence because people will feel like they're not doing well. But Baltimore is a difficult city because everybody's hungry there. So I feel like it's definitely, we do have a family atmosphere for the comics that are out there, but I feel like it definitely is a place that will show you what you are as a comic.
How long have you been doing comedy personally for yourself?
I've been doing it 8 years now.
For 8 years?
Yeah.
Traveling, doing different shows?
Maybe every couple of months. Usually it'll be with like a festival or something like that, or if somebody books me out of state. The last 2 times I was in LA, it was for a festival.
Okay.
That's this time as well. But I try to get different places, but I just have to get more of the networking going in other areas, you know what I mean? So being at places like this, it's good to meet people from other areas because then you can get plugs and bookings in those areas.
When did you get comfortable with, finally say, okay, I feel like I'm good enough to, take my show on the road?
It took some time. It took probably about 5 years.
Okay.
Because I just used to second guess myself a lot, and I would always think, oh, they're not going to want me, or I'm going to talk about this, or I'm going to cuss too much or whatever. They're not going to be for it. And then eventually I got out there and I realized other cities show you more love than your city will.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's with almost any profession, not even with just comedy, just with entrepreneurship in general, anything that you're doing.
Right.
Like, we always say, I think it's something about people feeling like they already know you, where like I know this person, I grew up with them, so they don't feel like it's necessary to like support you. But it can be a music artist that you don't even know, but you go out, buy their music and support them.
Right.
But that support for somebody that's from your home, it's still not the same for some reason. It's just
It's crazy because I've realized that I'll get more support from strangers. Like, I live in Baltimore, so D.C. is like an hour 15 minutes away. But the people in D.C. will literally be like, where can I find you? Where can we see you again? We want to come to another show. And they pop up in Baltimore, you know what I mean? I know that traffic is crazy. It's not L.A. traffic, but it's crazy.
Type of support that you might want from family and friends?
It used to. Now what I realize is they feel like I'm related to them, so they're supposed to get it free. So every time we have a family event, they want me coming in, tell us some jokes. Like, Mom, if you don't pull out some money, I'm not telling nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Where do you try out your jokes at? Like, even from the beginning, like, did you try them out on family and friends in the beginning, or like,
No.
what did you do to, try those jokes out?
They actually didn't know anything about me doing comedy initially. When I started comedy, I had broken my ankle, so I was out of work. So I was out of work for 4 months, and I ended up, we have this little thing in Baltimore called hacking, where you pick up people in your car, and you give them rides like a taxi for like a cheap price. I picked up a girl.
Almost like an Uber or something.
Yeah, but it's just illegal, that's all. Because I didn't have anything else to do. I was on crutches. And I just kind of got bit by the bug one day, and I just kept going. So we used the open mics as our practice space, like a gym. And then we use that to build up our jokes, and then we take them to shows and perform them there.
Some of the previous comedians that we had sitting up here, they would say, reflecting on their journey and doing their first shows. It wasn't a lot of laughs, but they said it was just that one laugh they got from somebody that was just kind of like that spark that for them. Like, how was your first show when you think about it? Like, did you get a lot of laughs, or was it just a very few? Like, how was that overall?
When I started, I used to get a good amount of laughs. But my thing was I was just talking and just talking trash. I was playing with people in the audience.
Do you try to look at the audience before telling your jokes? Like, okay, I know I'm gonna be performing in front of this segment, and this type of crowd, as to what jokes are off limits in a sense.
None of my jokes are off limits. I give everybody the same thing because I feel like, especially as a black comic, it's a lot of black comedians that will soften their jokes up for mainstream or white room. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing none of that because white people like the same thing that we like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All these different races. I just had 3 Asian ladies come up to me. 2 of them had never been to a comedy show. But everything that I'm going to talk about in front of black people, I'm going to talk about in front of white people, Asian people, Latin people, whoever. Because the joke should be universal. That's how you know your jokes work.
Absolutely.
And then...
I definitely agree with what you're saying, but you know how in today's society it's like the quote-unquote cancel culture is because you say the wrong thing and then people are ready to, cancel you for whatever reason. But in comedy, I feel like that's just a part of how the culture was, especially going back when I first got introduced to comedy. Really, like, I would see the sitcoms growing up, but like Kings of Comedy was like really like the first thing that I remember watching, like stand-up comedy, and they talked about everything, especially Bernie Mac.
Right.
Wasn't nothing off limits to him. And it's like the stuff that he was talking about back then, you wouldn't be able to make those type of jokes. Well,
that's true.
He probably still would because of who he is. He wouldn't care.
Yeah, but if he was starting out, he wouldn't have been able to do that.
Exactly.
I do actually, now that I think about it, I have one joke that I don't use in every room. And part of that, it's a joke about me being older and being part of the LGBT community. And sometimes younger people take it as though they can't laugh. It's not that they're offended by it, but they can't laugh because of the sensitivity of culture nowadays. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm speaking ill about any part of the community. That's not what it is. It's me talking about my own experiences. Mm-hmm. But some younger people don't get that because the joke is more related to older people.
Right.
So I'll be sparing when I use that joke sometimes, but that's about it.
Do you feel like female comedians overall, that you guys are held to a different standard as opposed to male comedians?
Absolutely. I mean, like a lot of the women that I know in comedy, they got to go through hell and high water. They got to deal with people trying to sleep with them and all of that. They act like these women aren't funny, that all they see is the physical. It's a lot of them that go through that, or not getting paid what a male comic might get paid, maybe not getting the optimal spots on the show. Me, the type of person I am, sometimes I get people that, they give me a little bit of a problem as a female comic, but it is what it is. I guess, it's like it builds character and it makes me stronger in the long run.
What would you say maybe, if you had to say anything, was probably like the hardest part of just being a comedian? That the average person does not get a chance to see. Like, we only see what you put out on stage, but we don't know the backstory of everything or what you're going through to put these jokes together. What would you say is like one of the hardest parts of being a comedian?
For me, it's the background stuff. It's the times when I'm by myself. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't have the greatest show, other comics that know how I perform, they'll be like, "Oh, that was fine. You was good." And X, Y, and Z. But for me, I try to hold myself to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. So how you feel is one way, but how I feel. And sometimes comedians have to realize they don't need to be so hard on themselves. Right. We get in our own head in the background, and people don't see all of it. It can be stressful moments, trying to manage your schedule and all the other stuff, trying to figure out why you're not on this show, why you're not on that show. It can be stressful, and people don't really see that. They just see us tell jokes.
Right. Do you watch other comedians? Do you watch other stand-ups, or do you try not to watch it because it may contaminate your mind?
I do like a lot of the Netflix stuff. I like to watch those because you see the hunger that they have. There's a lot of comics that I watch on TV, but honestly, I like local comedians. Mm-hmm. I like to watch the comics that I work with and see their development. Some of them just be crazy funny, and I ain't gonna hate on nobody that's popular out here or got big numbers, you know what I mean, or whatever. But these local comics, they be with it.
Absolutely.
Some of those are my favorites.
And a lot of times, it's like the ones like even with music artists, like when they first get on before they were like really really blow up, is when it's like, to me it's like they almost like at the times it's like when they're at their peak, and then when they go mainstream, it's kind of like it kind of gets watered down a little bit for whatever reason. I guess because you don't want to lose like sponsors, endorsements, or whatever it may be. Does it matter to you where you go first, last, or in the middle, like when you doing these type of shows?
That's interesting you asked that. I actually was supposed to host this show. Initially, they had a different host, and that person had a scheduling conflict, so they asked me to host it. I prefer not to host, but I will.
So you were hosting tonight?
I was going to.
Oh, okay.
My thing is I prefer to go later in the show because it gives me an opportunity to watch the audience a little bit. I like to relate jokes of mine to people in the audience. But if I have to go first, I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the game. You got to go when you got to go. You know what I mean? If you want to touch that stage, you're going to get up there when they tell you to get up there. So.
First one got to set that tone, though. I feel like that when
but
you
see,
go out
that's
there
what the host is. The host supposed to be able to do that. If your host ain't good, then it's hard to go first.
Yeah, that's true, too. How often do you actually perform? Whether it's at home or just in general, like how often are you like on a stage just performing in general?
At the minimum, probably 3 times a week.
That's what I've been hearing a lot of. It's like 3, 4, maybe 5 times, somewhere around there.
Right.
Somewhere between 3 to 5 is.
Yeah, because at the lowest, I would say 3 times a week. Typically, it's a lot more than that. But there have been days. I've literally had a day where I had a show. I had 4 shows in that day.
In one day?
Damn.
Is that kind of tiresome at times?
It can be.
And then I'm assuming you may continue using those same jokes over and over. Like, is it tiresome sometimes? Like, even when even though you know the joke yourself, but just having to keep telling it over and over.
It can be. We always want to have something fresh, but I know that every audience got different people in it, and I mean, some of these people haven't heard the jokes, and their reactions to it are things that I can, kind of play off of. So I also do crowd work along with my jokes, and I use that as segues to the next joke. So if I see somebody in the audience that looks like somebody in my joke, I can kind of run with it off of there. And it makes every set different because it's never the same people in the audience.
A few more questions. Who would you say is your favorite comedian to listen to?
My favorite comedian probably is Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
Yeah.
Bernie Mac was crazy, man. He was
and
crazy.
He didn't give a damn.
He didn't. That's why I say he said whatever was. He talked about his own family, everything.
Yeah.
And he just really one of the best. Like I said, he was one of the first 4 people with him and Steve Harvey and Cedric Entendier. Those were the first 4 people that I ever really got introduced to comedy. Yeah, I saw other comedians like Martin or Jamie Foxx on sitcoms on TV, but to actually hear them on the stage telling jokes and using profanity, that was the first time that I really was introduced to to stand up.
I think the other one, if I had to pick a second one, it would be Lunel.
Lunel, okay, yeah, I know Lunel as well.
She's hilarious.
I've seen her in some movies. I don't think I've ever really watched seen one of her stand-ups. But
you gotta see her last special. It was done by Dave Chappelle, but it was only 30 minutes. But when I say it killed some of the 1-hour specials I've seen other comics do, killed them.
I definitely had to go back and check her out as well. I think the movie that I remember seeing her in was an Adam Sandler movie. It's probably about at least somewhere between 8 to 10 years ago. It was called That's My Boy.
Okay.
And she was in that movie. I remember seeing her in that one. What are some goals that you have, wrapping up this year and heading into next year? What are some goals that you have for yourself?
I definitely want to travel more. I plan on being back in LA, hopefully once a month or once every 2 months, because I know that there's certain cities that really are more fruitful when it comes to comedy. LA is one of them. I definitely want to hit New York more to run an hour special. Other than that, I'll be starting my own shows. Monthly, I'm going to be doing monthly in Baltimore, and eventually maybe I'll be able to travel with it. It'll be a short show. Well, I won't say a short show, but some shows be having 13 people on it. It won't be that kind of deal. It's going to be definitely a different vibe, something that people really haven't seen and it's gonna be kind of reminiscent of Comic View back in the day. So that's what I got coming up.
Do you think we could ever see another show like Comic View? Just thinking about that, it's just, well, we have something like that now, like what you're doing tonight, but to that level, maybe like on the BET again, it's like seeing or something like that.
I think it could happen because I believe it was Kevin Hart and maybe he partnered with somebody else that they were bringing back Comic View anyway. But I think that it could happen. I feel like that's what comedy needs, is they need those kind of shows to come back.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need a Def Jam back. That's what we need.
Yeah. I just think, I wonder if they worry about like the culture that we're in now is maybe that's one of the reasons.
Probably.
But it's so important to, because it gave so many people a platform and to build their legacies.
Right.
We need those type of shows.
And these new comics, they need to see, what the hustle really is about. They need to have that same grind. You need to have that on the stand-up side, because so many people do the social media stuff and all of that. They need to put the grind back into comedy. You know what I mean? Make it a real situation for people to deal with when you want to be a stand-up.
How do you feel that like the social media comedians have kind of like changed the landscape of comedy? Because a lot of them, you see them, they do skits online, and then they do shows, but at the same time, maybe it doesn't translate for everybody like they may want it to.
So for me, I'm not one of those comics that really does the social media stuff. I'm not really good with the videos and all that. I concentrate more on stand-up. I don't knock them. My thing is, if you can do it, then do your thing. Get your money, you know what I mean? And if you can do both, do your thing. I really envy those that can do both. Yeah. But I feel like people also have to realize that's not what comedy is. It's comedy, but it's not stand-up comedy. Because at the end of the day, they can edit those videos over and over again. But once I hit that stage, whatever comes out, that's what it is. I got one and done. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's like kind of almost double the work as well, because you're putting out that content online, but then you still got to go out and perform, and you don't really want to use what you did on.
But a lot of them online don't go perform, or a lot of them that are online use what they do online on stage. Sometimes it doesn't translate. There is one gentleman that I know, one guy I know that it does translate, Darren Fleet. His translates from stage to the internet, back and forth either way. So he's like the one that can do both. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't knock them.
Yeah, I don't knock it as well, because it's helped put a lot, give them, create a great life for themselves. But it's like there's that in certain situations, does it translate from doing skits? Because like you said, skits, like you said, you can edit, but when you on stage, it's you by yourself and you got to tell those jokes. Right. It's like it's a totally different ball game.
Definitely a different ball game.
What advice would you have for other people that are pursuing their dreams? Maybe they don't want to be a comedian, but they just want to, fulfill their purpose in life. What advice would you have for them?
I'm the type of person, I'd be ready to quit comedy every 2 months. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that people got to realize what's for you is for you. You know what I mean? You're not going to have everybody else's journey. And if you're not ready for a marathon, don't do it. Like, cause especially with comedy is a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
If you're not ready for the long haul, then get out the way and let somebody else do it.
Be willing to put in the work. My last and final question, and then we'll get you out of here on this one. A question I ask everyone that's been up here is, what does self-investment mean to you?
Self-advancement?
Investment.
Self-investment. I feel like self-investment is exactly what it is. It's me investing in me investing in me as the product. Instead of me getting out here worried about putting energy into everybody else's business or whatever, I think I need to put that energy into me so that I can promote this product. Even though, I'm a human being, but I'm a product. You know what I'm saying? They're going to hire me as a contractor to perform on that stage. And the more that I invest in myself, whether it be the education of comedy or watching stuff that has to do with comedy, watching comedy shows, or just being in the rooms that I need to be in, networking and all that is going to build my product. That's going to build my business. And if I'm not investing in myself, then I don't even know what reason I'd be doing it.
It all starts with you. No matter what, it all starts with you. So self-investment is the best investment, is what I always tell everybody. D.Lo, thank you for your time. Before you get out of here, can you please tell everybody how to find you?
Of course. If you're on Instagram, you can find me at RedCupLo. That's REDCUPLO. REDCUPLO on Facebook. You can find me at Plain Old D.Lo. That's DLAINOLDLO. If you over 50 or 60 and you don't got neither one of those, you can email me at dlocomedian@gmail.com.
You got it all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. D.Lo, thank you again for your time. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode of the Cross the Line podcast here from the Ice House Comedy Club. Till next time, keep chasing your dreams. Thank you for listening.